Cannon is not subject to the authority of her elders. Yeah, like any Senate-confirmed, presidentially appointed judge, she's got life tenure. She's got independent standing, is free to choose to ignore any advice. Yeah, get the hell out of here.
Cases are generally randomly assigned unless one or more, a finite group of exceptions exist.
We're talking about this idea that when Trump's losing, the worst version of Trump shows up, and when Trump's winning or he thinks he's ahead, he's actually a different person, a different candidate.
Lefties are furious with Judge Cannon. New York Times reports that other judges in her district came to her and said, you have to give up this Trump case. We don't want you to sit on it because you're too young and inexperienced. And she told them to get out of here, to get bent. I'm going to keep this case. And she's doing a heck of a job on it. Now, the people who have always been railing against Judge Cannon are big mad as usual. George Conway was posting about this. MSNBC has a report. Julie Kelly's going to be there for the reports on what's happening on the classified documents case. And so we'll poke into all of that. But Judge Cannon is angering a bunch of people over there. From this report in the New York Times, says that she rejected suggestions to step aside. Two federal judges in South Florida, this is inappropriate by the way, privately urged Cannon to decline the case. It was assigned to her last year. She chose to keep it anyways, and they're upset about that. And here is the background. This is all over the media. It says two more experienced colleagues on the bench urged her to pass it up and hand it off to another judge, according to two people. Those judges who approached Cannon, including the chief judge, Cecilia M. Altanaga, each asked her to consider whether it would be better if she were to decline the high-profile case, allowing it to go to another judge. But Cannon, who was appointed by Trump, wanted to keep the case and refused the judge's peer pressure. Her assignment drew the attention because she has scant trial experience, they say, and has previously shown favor to Trump, blah, blah, blah. The extraordinary and previously undisclosed effort by Judge Cannon's colleagues to persuade her to step aside adds another dimension to the increasing criticism. They say she's broken, according to lawyers, with general practice of delegating some motions to other judges, and she's doing things that they don't like. Since then, Cannon has exhibited hostility to prosecutors because they're corrupt. She's handled pretrial motions slowly. Jack Smith is basically going to be on trial here in a minute because he's illegally appointed. They manipulated evidence in the classified documents case and have botched this from the very beginning, declining to set a date for the new trial. And Mr. Trump's lawyers have urged her to delay any trial until after the election. We'll see what ultimately happens, but you can see how upset they are. Word of early efforts by her colleagues to persuade her to step aside, and the significance of her decision not to do so is spread among other federal judges and the people who know them. Neither Cannon nor Altanaga directly responded to requests for comments, but someone else said, a clerk wrote, our judges do not comment on pending cases. It is routine for novice judges to look to more experienced jurists for informal advice or mentoring as they learn to perform their new roles, but not have them pressure to give their cases up, as the district judges has a formal role in administering the judiciary. But ultimately, Cannon is not subject to the authority of her elders. Yeah, like any Senate-confirmed, presidentially appointed judge, she's got life tenure. She's got independent standing, is free to choose to ignore any advice. Yeah, get the hell out of here. The two people who discussed the efforts to persuade her to hand over the case each talked on anonymity reasons. Do you think it would have been appropriate to go pressure Chutkan, huh? Or how about Engoron or any of these other people? Hey, Cannon, as far as we know, didn't donate to Donald Trump like Merchan donated to Joe Biden. Each has been told about it by different federal judges, including Judge Altanaga. Neither of the people identified the second federal judge in Florida who reached out to Cannon. One of the people confirmed the effort to persuade Cannon to step aside, but did not describe the details. The other person offered more details. This person said each outreach took place by telephone, okay, because they were trying to put the right judges in the right places. This is not a bad statement about Cannon at all. This makes Cannon look like a hero, honestly. What other judges did give up their cases, or why did Merchan in New York get randomly assigned to like 3 different Trump cases? Bannon's case, Trump's case, and the Trump org case. Merchan, of all the judges, acting Judge Merchan gets randomly assigned. No, there are people pulling the levers, trying to get the judges matched up with the cases. Cannon was a bad pick. The bingo roll came out bad, so someone called to try to get her to give it up. Suggested to her it would be better for the case to be handled by a jurist based closer to the district's busiest courthouse in Miami, where the grand jury would be. It'd be close. The Miami courthouse also had a secure facility approved to hold the classified documents. Judge Cannon is the sole judge in the federal courthouse in Fort Pierce, 2-hour drive. When she was assigned to this case, the courthouse did not have a secure facility. I'm sure that was the problem, yeah. Because Cannon kept the case, taxpayers have had to pay for a secure room. We've also had to pay for Jack Smith's $12 million prosecution. I think it's more than that now. So yeah, that's the least of our our concerns on this. The whole prosecution should never be happening in the first place. After that initial argument failed to sway Judge Cannon to step aside, she says, no, I'm not going anywhere. Someone else called her. Judge Alto Naga, okay, the presiding judge, the chief judge, an appointee of Bush, said to have made a more pointed argument, calls her, says it would be bad optics for the Judge Cannon to oversee the trial because of what had happened during the criminal investigation that led to Trump's indictment charges for illegally retaining documents. Remember this. Cannon pushed back on them, rightfully so. In August, the FBI obtained a search warrant from Judge Reinhardt to go raid and take pictures of Melania's bedroom to hunt for any remaining classified documents. The agents found thousands of government files, and then charged a handful of documents. The files, they recovered 100 marked classified documents. They charged like 30 something of them. Soon after the search, Trump filed a lawsuit to get those documents back, and Judge Cannon appointed a special master, as she should have. And this has totally been vindicated, by the way. The special master was appointed because we had concerns that they were manipulating the evidence. Turns out they were manipulating the evidence. Jay Bratt just admitted that. The documents are all shifted all over the place in the boxes, so the chronology of them has been wrecked and tainted. We also have the inserts apparently don't match the scans. So Judge Cannon was absolutely right to appoint a special master because the feds screwed it up. She directed a special master to consider the seized files, whether they should be permanently kept based on executive privilege and other things. So a 3-panel court reversed her. And so they came and said, you screwed that up. So now you have to get off the case. No. They appealed. Supreme Court declined to hear it. Then, according to the clerk, under the district standard practices, according to the clerk, the new case went into the system that would randomly assign it to a handful of judges, which covers all of these. The case went to Judge Cannon. Oh no. So they're so upset because we have an actual judge who's holding the government accountable for all of their egregious misconduct. And we've seen motion after motion that we've covered here. So Conway's very mad about this. He said this, you know who he is, the conservative lawyer. So he says, I don't know what to make of this story except to say that it's remarkable to have 2 senior judges gently tell you you're incompetent. I don't think that's what the story said. And are perceived as too biased. And I don't think that's what it said either. And then to actually go out there and prove it on the field, which she hasn't done at all. She has shown that Jack Smith has manipulated the evidence, tainted the classified documents, mishandled classified documents, which is what he's charged Trump for. So Conway comes out. He says both the story and the fact that it has been reported are remarkable. It is interesting that the judges did that. It's pretty shameful that the judges would put peer pressure on other colleagues. The degree of embarrassment and chagrin Cannon's incompetence and bias must be causing to her colleagues is unimaginable. It's hilarious. And lest any semi-literate maggots, I think that's us, contend that this is some kind of political play, they should look at the 11th Circuit's brutal opinions reversing Cannon for her rulings related to the document seized at Mar-a-Lago. Again, proving my point completely, that they've admitted they've manipulated the evidence. So a special master would have been a much better chain of custody, a much better content custodian than the feds were, because presumably the special master wouldn't have manipulated all of the evidence in the boxes and wrecked the evidence. So that is from Conway. He's upset about it. Let's see what the MSNBC people are saying in their reporting on this, and then we'll see what Julie Kelly had to say. This is what MSNBC said.
Breaking news. The New York Times reports the judge handling former President Donald Trump's Mar-a-Lago classified documents case, Judge Aileen Cannon, rejected calls from 2 federal judges in Florida to hand off the case. This is according to 2 people briefed on the conversations who spoke with the Times. And joining us now is MSNBC legal correspondent Lisa Rubin. Lisa, what else are we learning about this?
This is remarkable reporting, Anna. And the very fact that the conversations even existed is itself remarkable. I just want to underscore for you and our viewers, cases in the federal judiciary are typically randomly assigned, maybe not among all of the judges in a particular district. Each district has its own procedures for doing so, and geography plays into it to some degree. But cases are generally randomly assigned unless one or more, a finite group of exceptions exist. And here you have a judge who got a random assignment and yet was called upon by not one, but 2 of her more senior colleagues to step aside. And in an escalating fashion, too. I think in this reporting, what you're hearing from the New York Times is the first judge who is yet to be named called Judge Cannon and said, maybe it would be better if a Miami-based judge handled the case because you don't have a secure facility.
Because of traffic in building.
Fort Pierce. For the handling of classified information, the government will have to construct one at great cost to taxpayers.
Yeah, like Jack Smith's insane prosecution that has illegal appropriations to the tune of millions of dollars from the DOJ's slush fund. Like, that's not a waste of money.
Wouldn't it be better if we just handled it out of Miami where there already exists such a skiff? Judge Cannon said politely, apparently, no. She was then called by the chief judge of the district, Cecilia Altonaga, who is not a crazy liberal by any stretch of the imagination, an appointee of George W. W. Bush. Judge Altanaga then was a little bit clearer with her. Given what happened after the initial search at Mar-a-Lago and your own involvement and receptivity to a civil lawsuit from former President Trump challenging that search, that's the case in which Judge Cannon appointed a special master, slowing down the government's investigation.
They should have. They should have slowed him down because they were running around with the boxes manipulating their documents. Classified documents were flying all over the place. The special master was the right thing to do. She was right and vindicated on this. Jay Bratt just admitted they conveniently omitted the fact that the evidence has been tainted by their own agents
for several months, only to be overturned and very harshly by the 11th Circuit.
A very conservative 11th Circuit.
And
three judges on that 11th Circuit panel.
She was
one, the chief judge
that.
of the district, Bill Pryor, often thought of as a potential conservative nominee to the Supreme Court. Two others themselves Trump nominees, Brandt and Andrew Brasher. Those three judges really firmly knocked her down and said there's no basis for having done what you did in terms of the appointment of the special master.
Yeah, hindsight's 20/20 on that. Now, of course, there's a lot of truth to that. The government has total power in most situations. I mean, I hate to say it, it's just true. You go into these courts, you say, well, the government did something inappropriate. The judge, come on, man. Like, I am the government. I get paid by the government. Prosecutor, I get paid by the government. Court clerks looking at you like, sorry, dude, I get paid by the government. You look over to the security guard. You're like, dude, can you help me? He's like, no, man, I get paid by the government. You're like, Jesus, man, everybody's getting paid by the government. They all just always support the government and the institutions no matter what. But Cannon is holding their feet to the fire. And Julie Kelly made a good comment on this saying, yeah, we're liking her better and better the more we learn about her. Says, I like her even more now. Shout out to our friend Julie Kelly. Says the chief judge in South Florida, a Bush appointee, privately urged Cannon to give Trump documents to another judge. And she said, no, thank you. And Cannon is holding more hearings this week. And Julie Kelly will be reporting on those, no doubt about it. Now, this was a clip from Chuck Todd in the middle of all of this lawfare that's happening, in the middle of them trying to drain Trump's financial coffers, them trying to imprison him, them trying to say he's an abuser and now he's a felon and he's trying to steal democracy and all this stuff. It's never ending, but Trump seems like he's doing pretty well. Like he's got his swagger back. Here is what MSNBC said with Chuck Todd.
I mean, to simplify this, but, Donald Trump rhetoric even his sort of swagger looks more like 2016 in the campaign you covered so closely, Katie, than he looks in 2020. And in fact, I was just discussing this with somebody we all know on this program. I'm going to leave his name out of it because he didn't know I was going to quote him just now. But he even noted, we were talking about this idea that when Trump's losing, the worst version of Trump shows up. And when Trump's winning or he thinks he's ahead, he's actually a different person, a different candidate. I mean, I think Vaughn could probably speak to this now. The Donald Trump in Detroit and those events he did, he was oddly loose. He was trying to be funny and all of this.
He's playful.
Where from about 2017 to 2022 and even 2023 through the primaries, it's been nothing but angry grievance Trump, right? Angry, angry, angry. It's interesting if he somehow drops the grievance, he could end up looking more like that 2016 candidate where he's the outside disruptor.
Ooh, Trump's got his swagger back. MSNBC's noticing it. We're noticing it too. And we're getting prepared for the debate, which is coming up next week. We're going to be in Trump Hotel live streaming that debate. And we hope that you join us as we do. So thank you for subscribing wherever it is you're watching this. We've got a lot more coverage happening here of not only the Florida classified documents case, but a bunch more. And if you missed our first segment on the Engoron recusal filing from Trump's defense, that video will be linked up right over there. And so we'll look forward to seeing you over there and back here on the next one.